Bob and Brad, the two most famous physical therapists on the internet.
Hi, folks. I'm Bob Schrupp, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical therapist.
Together, we are the most important, most famous physical therapists on the internet.
In our opinion, of course, Bob.
You'll understand where I was going. The title has most important in it, so that's why I thought we're the most important therapists on the internet.
Well, of course, that too.
Title: the single most important thing you can do for your hip pain.
Sure.
So, frequent hip movement is one of the best things you can do. I'm going to jump right into it, Brad.
All right, good.
To help decrease or control hip pain. Now, I'm going to say also you should probably combine this with the stretches that we recommend on another video, the Bob and Brad stretching program for hips.
Right. You'll see, if it's tight, we need to loosen it up and keep it moving.
Yeah, and it's, that combination is lethally effective, so you really want to avoid long periods of inactivity and try to move without pain. So that means you might have to use something for weight bearing.
In other words, a
like
cane
or
a walker, depending on your situation.
Right. Or you could, if you walk in water, there's some buoyancy and that helps.
Yep,
or if you're on a bike, you're not quite putting full weight on there. So
stationary bike, real bike. Yep.
So we're going to give you some tips here. We got a dozen tips here again, Brad.
Oh.
So let's get started. One, as we said, do not remain in a prolonged stationary position. You can actually skip to you could set your cell phone alarm for every 20 minutes to go ahead and stand up or move a little bit. This is for you that are especially working at a desk at home.
Right.
It's really easy just to be there for 3 hours and not move at all.
Yeah, get involved with your work or fall asleep.
Yeah. So, number 3, stand and walk during phone calls. That's a good habit to be in. If someone calls you, get up, start walking.
Yeah.
I often do that anyway, just if I'm near my wife, so she doesn't hear.
Oh, you don't want her to hear your conversation.
Well, she doesn't want to hear it. That's what.
Yeah, interrupt everyone.
Right. Steve Jobs was famous for this next one, Brad. He'd have walking meetings.
Oh. Sure.
And he thought that increased your creativity when you walk.
Sure.
So I would like to do that. We should do that on Zoom.
Yeah.
We should all be walking. So, all right. Use a standing desk. The reason I like a standing desk is because you can alternate between the standing, sitting, and you can also do a half sit.
Sure.
Brad used to work with employees at factory jobs, right?
Yeah, in industry, they call it sit-stand station, so you might be assembling a part here on a workstation. After 20, 30 minutes, you get fatigued and your body needs a change in position, so you sit in a stool that's high, and you can still do your job because you're not sitting way down, and then you take weight off your legs and your hips, and then you go back to that, so that goes every 20 minutes or so to go back and forth.
Yeah, it's really easy, and it's easier on your back too.
Oh yeah,
that's often what we recommend it for. So, if you can't get up from the chair, just even a little bit of marching in place.
Yep.
Can get some hip movement. You can do it marching in place, seated or standing.
Yep.
So
even you can give yourself a stretch.
give it a
like
stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I do this, believe it or not, Brad, and almost more to protect my car. But I'll park way in the outskirts of the parking lot to go to a store.
Yeah.
Especially when I go to Walmart.
Maserati.
Yeah, the Maserati. But they're gonna, I can just see people banging into my car door and not worrying about it. So having enough problems.
Rough neighborhoods, huh?
Yeah, there we go. So if you're on a couch or recliner, during breaks, and maybe many of you don't have breaks now because people don't watch commercials anymore, but you can get up during breaks and do some air squats. And the air squats are just bringing the arm straight out like this. And
if it's a balance issue, you can hold on to the armrest.
Yeah, you can hold on to
something to get things moving other than that static sitting position.
Yeah, and if you're like in a meeting or on a plane, and then you can't really move too easy, then you can do some of that marching, or you can also do just kind of sway the hips back and forth like this. It gives a little bit of movement.
I can just imagine in a plane when you're packed in,
and
you're right in the middle seat, and you're doing this and
doing this.
Yeah, they're going to be looking at you.
That's why I always try to sit next to my wife. So
yeah, she doesn't mind.
Yeah. All right. You actually should use steps or stairs sometimes instead of elevators,
Ah.
especially if you can do that without increasing pain.
Right.
Now, if that causes your pain, I don't want you doing it.
Right.
But you are getting some strengthening, and
Oh, sure.
there's usually a rail.
Yep.
You can help pull it up like that. So, you can walk during your lunch hours. That's my
very
wife
good
and I
idea.
have gotten into the habit now of, with us, both of us working at home. We go for a walk like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Together or different directions?
Together.
Oh, good.
We actually go together. So not today, probably, because it could be like blizzard conditions.
It's nice and warm this morning.
know,
But it's going to
it's-
change in a hurry, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 46. Was in
Yeah.
our world, that's a lot.
That's feeling
So,
good.
all right, number 12. This is probably the best reason to get a dog, but if you get a dog, it does force you to have to walk that dog. Mike, you can attest to that. So.
Get a smaller one, though, because I've had a number of patients that have a bigger dog and it pulls them and have
Sure.
shoulder problems. They fall. So, you know,
Well, they
or
got to
get
train the dog, Brad.
But the training part,
Yeah, it
you
can
know.
take a long time. I know.
we got neighbors that walk by our house, and it is so funny because the dog is walking them, and they're younger, and
Yeah.
and that dog is jerking on them, pulling on them, and once she walked both dogs at the same time with a split
Oh, jeez.
thing, and oh my goodness, she was all over.
You
But
got to be the dog's got to know you're the alpha.
alpha, beta, gamma,
You're in charge.
Yeah,
And if you let the dog walk ahead of you, then it thinks it's in charge. So you need to walk ahead of the dog, or at least even with the dog.
have you ever done that?
Well, no, I don't own a dog, but I watch a dog whisperer or whatever. So all right, well, okay.
It's got nothing to do with hips.
By the way, this video is part of a series of videos on hip pain. Check out the rest of them. You go to bobbrad.com, go to the program section, look for hip pain, and you can watch all the videos that pertain to you.
Right, just look at the titles. If you like the information, there's a PDF printout for each video. Shows a preview, exercises, all on paper. You don't even need to give us your email. It's completely free.
All right,
Say no more.
enjoy.